Welcome back to She Decides. Today's conversation is one every ambitious woman needs to hear. I'm joined by Tracy Nolan. She's the senior executive at Humana, where she leads strategy, operations, and large-scale growth initiatives. Tracy's career has spanned powerhouse companies like Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint, and now healthcare, leading through high-pressure environments, massive organizational change, and moments where the stakes couldn't have been higher. But this episode goes far beyond titles and corporate success. Tracy opens up about navigating male-dominated industries, overcoming imposter syndrome, learning to stop shrinking herself, and what it really takes to own your voice as a woman in leadership. We talk about mentorship, resilience, leadership during crisis moments like 9/11, and why women need to stop questioning whether they belong in the room. Because as Tracy says, if your name is on the invite, you've earned your seat at the table. This conversation is honest, empowering, practical, and filled with the kind of perspective that only comes from truly leading at scale. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on our next episode of She Decides. I'm your host, Staci, and I am super excited to introduce our amazing guest today. We have Tracy Nolan here with us, who is a senior executive at Humana. And Tracy, you lead so much. You have strategy, operations, and I mean, just such the growth there, the growth complex with Humana. Welcome, and we're so excited to learn more from you today.
Staci, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to just jump right in and ask you a few questions right off the bat, and then from there, I'd love you to share more about like your background, what led you to the executive role that you have. But when you started Humana, obviously. Well, first, let's talk about how many years have you been at your current position?
So I've been in the healthcare industry with Humana for the last 3.5 years. Prior to that, I spent majority of my career in telecommunications, working for Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint, etc.
And in those roles, were you in leadership or in executive roles for basically for how long? Like, what's your experience there before you joined Humana?
So I had a large role, a similar role that I have today within T-Mobile and Sprint. Before coming to Humana, I had a team of about 22,000 employees, and I ran the country as I do from a sales perspective today at Humana. So I've always had large teams or run large large P&Ls of organizations probably for the last, 15 plus years. So
you are a pro.
I don't know if you ever really become a pro at it, but I can tell you
you're pretty darn good.
I like a challenge. I like a challenge, and I like the opportunity to work with people who want to accomplish something together. And I also love to watch and help people develop. So it's, that I'm really proud of those moments where I see somebody who, was not necessarily thinking that they could accomplish something, Staci, and then they, become the next director or the next, they get promoted because they push themselves a little bit to get there. And I've helped them along the way.
Well, that's what I was going to add to it. It's so rewarding to watch, them grow like that. But that takes a really good leader, right? To put that trust in them and empower them and the accountability, right? And not micromanaging them and being very clear with the directives. So I mean that takes your leadership to really watch them grow like that.
Well, I think it comes from the fact that in my career, I had some leaders. I've had good leaders and I've had some not so good leaders, but I would say the really good leaders were ones that I may not have always appreciated right at that time, because they would either push me hard or they would, do something that I was like, I can't believe, but they're the ones who, saw something in what I could do that I couldn't even believe it that I could do myself. And, put me in those situations that actually proved, wow, I can do that. So I truly believe good leaders will surround themselves with great talent and then push others to achieve, higher objectives.
Well, I think you just hit the nail on the head because, this is really what this whole podcast is about. It's about supporting women who are, maybe in the verge of starting their own company, or they're in a high level, leadership role, or they want to apply for that leadership executive role. And they don't know if they're good enough, if they're smart enough, or if they can do the job, right? Or they're just lacking that confidence. So what you just said really, hit the nail on the head, and to inspire those to just go for it, right? I mean, especially if somebody's suggesting, like you said, a leader that is really pushing you. I think it's easy to, on the other end, to think, oh my gosh, my leader, my bosses, they're being unfair, or they're just pushing me, they're overworking me, or this or that. And no, really, it's usually because they see something in you that's pretty significant.
It's so true. And I never thought I would be doing what I was doing today. I honestly thought that I thought I would be a school teacher and have all these kids at home, and then, or a nurse or something, which are all great professions and all that. But I never really thought of myself as, I didn't start out to be a career executive. And women, what I've seen through the years is a couple of things. Is number one, women aren't so nice to each other all the time in business. And one of the great things about Humana, I would tell you, is the first company after all the years that I've worked where women actually are supporting women and are really good to women. So that's been fantastic. But I remember times where women weren't super nice to each other. As a matter of fact, I've got quite a few examples where even I was pitted against another woman for a position, and it was like, there's only one woman that can be around a table? Like, what are you kidding me? Like, there's like, why
like
can't
the more
there
the
be
merrier.
multiple of us, right?
Yes.
Like, why is this? And then I would also tell you that, I'm a perfectionist and I'm really hard on myself. And I found that, every time I do anything, I was like grading myself and thinking, well, maybe I'm not good enough for that position, or maybe I need to go do X before it. And I got to tell you, that is not how many men are wired. Not that like I'm saying that all of them, but I'm just saying like we hold ourselves back and we don't go for it, as you said, often. And there are times that, we get that imposter syndrome, or that, like, I remember there was a couple of years where all I did was rate myself after every interaction with another leader. And it was like, oh, that was a C. Oh, that was a D. That was a, and I was so hard on myself. And that's not good either, right? Yeah,
I think you're right. Well, you're right. We're so hard on ourselves, and we are, I think, perfectionists to a fault, to where we see these, issues, like we think they're issues, but nobody else would see it on the outside, right? But we know it, and a lot of times it holds us back, like you were saying, So, and then when you have other women who are being judgy or competitive, and it's like, we're on the same team here, people.
And why not lift each other up? Like, why hold? And that's why I always talk about the fact that I'm highly passionate about helping other women see their potential, or helping them go for it, or not holding back. Because, I tell the story about Diana Vonderheide, who I haven't talked to in years, but I still talk about her as somebody who had, she was an individual contributor who did incredible work, but she never thought she could do more than what she was doing. And I was like, oh no, you have so much talent. Why don't you start managing people? Why don't you start, and so I gave her a shot and gave her that opportunity, and I didn't have to do much coaching because she was really good at it. And
it was just natural talent.
She became a top director at Verizon. Like, how cool is that, right? And those are the things that when people ask me, like, what am I most proud of? It's those moments where people have been able to achieve, and women in particular, who, hold themselves back or think it's not possible, that actually have so much more talent that and they want to do it, but they're just either it's afraid or concerned really that they're not gonna be able to do it. And so I've always been a person who's also a bit of a risk taker, because if someone tells me I can't do it, I'm going to want to do the opposite, Stacy.
You're like, no, I'm going to show you.
I've had a lot of people tell me like, oh, you can't. And I'm like, are you sure I can't? Like I have a couple of bosses who've learned that about me, is if they challenge me by saying, I'm not sure that's possible, I'm probably going to do the opposite. So.
You're like, well, watch me. I love that.
Exactly.
I love that. And again, and that's what we're here for, is to really just give that boost of confidence to the women who just don't feel like they're good enough, or they're smart enough, they're capable, or experienced enough. And, and there's so much to be said about, just get out of your comfort zone, and you'd be surprised of what you can really accomplish, and really how things may even come easy to you. And you're like, wow, that was easy. I thought it was, they're so terrified, and it's just so terrifying to see like these accomplishments, and then they do it and they're like, oh. And then I think it almost becomes a little addicting, right? Once you cross one bridge and you accomplish something, you just want to keep going and going and going. And, and then you see that in other people too, like you said. So,
yeah. And just as you said in the beginning, like I joined Humana because they were looking for someone who did similar work, but in a completely different industry. And I had a lot of people say, hey, Trace, like, why are you changing industries? So after such a 20 plus year, career in telecommunications. And my thought was, well, why not? And second of all, what if I could bring the skill sets that I had there and transform the healthcare industry and help people with getting better health outcomes and making it easier to sign up for Medicare? And what if I could provide a better consumer experience? So I did even have, someone really challenge me on, why would you do this at this point in your career? And I was like, because I still enjoy a challenge, and why not? Like, this is a great opportunity. So, a lot of people really weren't sure what I was doing, but I just,
and I bet you have no regrets, right?
No, none.
I'm so glad you made that move.
And you know what? Because I also believe one of the things that women are really great at is learning. And I have found that my quest and thirst for more learning every day has actually grown. It's not gotten less out of college. It's actually like, if I can take a course, or I can be in a meeting. Yeah, like if I can be in a meeting that's learning about specialty drugs, which I have nothing that I do with today at work, but if I can learn a little bit more, why not, right? Why not? Because someday it may come in handy. So I think that's another key for women, is that we are good learners, and making sure that we're, sponging up whatever we can is great.
Absolutely. And you just never know either. Like when you are gaining a little more information or education, you never know what rooms you're going to be in, somebody you're going to bump into that you have that in common with. And now you can have this conversation with them. Right. So it's very helpful.
Yes. Yeah. And I would say too that on that topic, there's two thoughts of schools here. We had a neighbor who had a health problem, and because I was in that room, I was able, this one conversation, I was able to say, ooh, let me see what I can help you with from a perspective of, it was a drug that was a trial drug. I would have had no idea how to even approach,
right?
Even when I was at Humana, how to even approach to help them, because it was really a doctor's issue. It wasn't really an insurance issue that I deal with. But I was able to give him enough advice that he was able to go get the doctor to be able to get it prescribed, to get it for him, which was not going to happen based on the type of thing. And who would know a conversation sitting in a room would allow that to happen, which is pretty cool, right? Like, it's pretty cool that I would have never even known who to call. So
that's right.
You just don't know. You just don't know when you what you're learning and how you can apply it at some point.
It's crazy how the brain works, isn't it? How we absorb this information, and maybe it just sits on a shelf for a while, but then all of a sudden, when you need it, it's there. It's like, oh, wow, I know this. I can at least carry on a conversation, right? And know, like, I know what I'm talking about, at least to an
Yeah.
extent. That actually leads me into the next question that I have for you is, was there a defining moment for you when you realized that you really belonged in the room? This kind of segues right into there. And how did that really
Mm.
shift your confidence and like your leadership style?
Well, for so long, I I would tell you, a quick story is that when I was, at Verizon and I was region president in high potential, I remember my boss. I grew up in a family that was highly conservative, and my mom, was Miss Manners, and I loved all of that. But what I found that I brought in to the workplace was that I treated like every meeting like it was a party. So I would literally like be the one that would set the room up in the sense of who would sit where. And this time was I was running $1 billion organization, but in the meantime, I'm talking to my boss about, oh, don't worry, I know the execs are coming in. I'm going to go set it up so that we know who's sitting where, because there is a strategy in business
Mm-hmm.
about like if I'm presenting, I want to sit across from the person that is the highest executive so that I can look
You
at
want
them
to know
face
where
to
they're
face.
going to
So
get eye
there's things
contact.
like that,
Yes.
but I would set up the room, and I remember this one time I did that, and my boss, I was the only female on the team. My boss was really appreciative, but at the end of the meeting, after I had just presented on this $1 billion organization I ran, the one executive, the one senior leader came up and said, you set this room up so nice. It was great. Thank you so much. And he walked out of the room and I went, is that what they remember about me? Is that I set the room up? Like I run one of your largest $1 billion organizations, but you remember what I do. And it was a bit of defining moment for me when I walked away, because I was like, hell no, I'm not setting up the room anymore. That's like we're just gonna like I'm just gonna let my boss handle it the way he wants to handle it. Why am I the one that's setting up the party? Like I treated everything I did as if I grew up. Like my mom was the hostess with the mostest, right, Stacy? She had everything perfect at the house. I was
Yeah.
brought up that when people come over, you make sure that the room is perfect and you make sure that that everybody has a good time. I was one of 6
Yeah.
presenters. I was not hosting the meeting, but I took on the role that I was super comfortable in because I grew up that way. And as women in business, sometimes we default to what we're and it's not just that. We always, in stressful situations, we will go to our comfort zone. For me, that was making sure that the dynamics in the room and the party was set up, the meeting was set up, versus going in, walking in. And I do this now. I always tell women, like, if you're on an invitation for a meeting, you've earned the right to be in that meeting. So you walk in the room with your notebook not up against like this, down by the side, because no men walk in like this, with
That's
the
right.
notebook
Sure.
down on the side.
Oh, I
You
love
take
that.
up your space and you spread out, because men
I love
spread up
that.
and take the room. I was going in and like taking my little space and carving it. No, you earn, if your name is in the 2 in a meeting, you've earned that space.
You're just as important. That's right.
Exactly. And I learned that defining moment when someone said to me, you set up the meeting, thanks for hosting, you set up the meeting nice, versus, oh my gosh, I can't believe that you are so far ahead in your market share gain and doing blah blah blah. They didn't remember a thing of what I said. They remembered the meeting that I set up. That's not how I wanted to be remembered.
But I think too, though, there is some positive to that, because imagine if you didn't go in there and you didn't set up the room, and say the meeting wasn't as great as it could have been, and you would have thought maybe like, oh God, it was set up like shit, kind of, right? It was all just it was all organized and this and that, and so I guarantee you that meeting wouldn't have went as well as it did without you setting it up to perfection. And like you said, you're kind of a perfectionist, and I think as women, like I will notice if one thing is turned the wrong way. Nobody else is going to notice it, but I will. And if I notice it, I will think it's going to impact maybe the way I'm talking or the way I'm listening, because I'm going to be focused on this over here, right? And so I think women just think differently than men. on a lot of levels.
They do.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's the other part is that, for a long time, I think I thought I needed to be like them. And you mentioned this earlier about knowledge is power. But the night before a big meeting, I would literally pull up all of what's going on in sports the night before. Like, there's certain
I love
sports
it.
I like, but literally I would go in and find out what games were going on. I would go figure out like who won what games because I wanted to feel like I could fit in, right?
That's right.
And I found that I was doing so much of that. And then again, I would always wear a black suit or a navy suit. And someone once said to me, is like, are you trying to be like them or are you trying to be who you are? And I was like, oh my gosh. So now, I'm in black today, but I, a lot of times wear a lot of colors, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm going to be who I am. And
Express
I think
yourself.
there's
That's right.
a power to being a woman because those things like my mom taught me in manners to you said and things along those lines actually can be a positive.
Mm-hmm.
They can be very positive to your outcomes as long as it's a balance between it and you don't just like the biggest thing for me is to teach people not to just go to the real comfort zone in a stressful situation. You have to, continue to be that leader and handle that stress without falling back into, what's super comfortable that might not only be the most important thing to focus
Absolutely.
on.
And I loved what you said is, you tell the women if they're on the invite, go in there, sit down and take up space. That's going to be like a quote for me. So I want to put a pin in that.
Well,
I love that.
you know what? It's so important because I go to I was in a meeting with Samsung one time and, there were 21 men and there was me. And I felt like when I walked in, a lot of people were sitting. So I had to find space and I literally had to push my way in and literally pushed like put my elbows out because there was no room.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then I leaned in, right? And then I leaned in because and now I watch, I do quite a bit of coaching, even just daily with my team, but I watch my team as they're interacting with others. And I will say something in a situation when I see a woman sitting way back and, cross-legged and, not taking up space, like
being all proper and just, right. Yeah. I love that you're in that space now to where you just have so much confidence to where you can now sit back and observe a little bit rather than being uptight and like, oh my goodness, I have to look impressive. I have to sound impressive. I have to earn this respect and blah, blah, blah. And now you just walk in, you're like, hey, I got this and I'm going to take up my own space and I'm going to observe the room and I'm not going to be intimidated. And so I love that. It's almost like you've read my note cards here because what you say is leading into my next question I have for you. Because the next one was you've led in a male-dominated environment many a times. And so what challenges did you face early on and what wins really helped you find your voice? And I feel like, you've shared that. And do you have any one particular win? You're like, all right, or was that kind of the defining moment? You're like, oh, he just told me thanks for setting it up nice.
No, you really, Stacy, you covered it. I think that throughout my career, I had to realize at one point. You say that I'm confident. I got to tell you that that's really nice, and I do I do lead with the fact that I learned a long time ago, because I take risks, not to, and I wish I had learned this earlier, like not be afraid that if things don't go well, that there wouldn't be something else. And we all struggle with that, especially when we're younger and we're paying, we're our paychecks are how we live day by day, etc. But anytime I've made a move, I've always ended up doing better than I thought, I was doing at the time. So I had somebody once tell me, like, you have a premier job, Tracy, just keep your head down and do the work. We're going through, some reorganization, and they're like, just keep your head down. You'll be fine. Don't speak up. Just do what you're doing. You'll be fine. And I was like, no, I can't do that.
I don't
And they're
think
like,
so.
well, are you worried? And so I think I've learned that the world, there is so much opportunity out there. And while in the moment you feel like your job is the only job and the best job you're ever going to have, and what I tell people is you got to take some power back. And what I mean by that, and this is where I go from, is that the day I decided that there's a two-way street, the company you work for honored you by giving you an offer to go work for them, and it's their right to have you come in every day. But don't forget, you have a right to make the decision whether that's the right role for you for that
That's
day.
right.
It's a two-way street. And so many times people get caught up and then they're uncomfortable or not happy thinking that there's nothing else out there. And I will tell you, women, you are talented, you are fantastic. And if you've done a great job here, someone else is going to be so lucky to have you. So don't put yourself in that. And I think that was a defining moment when I released this power that I felt companies who I were working for, like I had to be there. Like, you know, sometimes you get into that. And so, that has given me the confidence to say, dream big, go for it. Don't, put your head down and just keep doing it. If it doesn't feel right, like you've got to enjoy what you do because you spend so much time at work.
Life is too
I don't
short.
know. I mean, life is way too short to be spending time doing something or being somewhere or working for someone who is not out for your best interest and for you.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah, because there will be somebody out there that appreciates you, for sure.
Yep,
For
absolutely.
sure. And I think it's important too. We talk a lot on this podcast where you're a lot of times you're gonna fail. People are gonna fail.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna face these challenges. You're gonna fail, but you learn from that, and it makes you a little tougher. I think most importantly, is you just don't quit. Right? You get
Right.
up, dust it off, and go back at what you want. Because success is not just a straight line to where it's going to be easy peasy, right? Like, oh, I'm going to take this risk. I'll nailed it. Sometimes you're going to fall on your face a little bit, and that's okay because it makes you tougher, right? And you usually learn something from that.
Well, and the other part about that, because it is, to your point, it's never going to be, you are going to need to have some failures, and it could be a daily failure of, like, I remember I had this one presentation, it did not go well, and it was big. It was, I don't think it was with the board, but I think it was with, the senior execs. And I remember being devastated and I couldn't get over it. I could not get over it. Like kept reliving it in my brain, going over and over and over again. So I saw the CEO the next day and I went up to him and I just said, "Hey, I'm sorry that, things didn't go as well as I wanted to. I've done some soul searching and I'm going through this whole thing." And he literally looks at me and goes, "What are you talking about?" Like he had totally forgotten it, right? But I was still on it. Like
it's just beating
24 hours later, right? Like I couldn't get myself out of it. I lost sleep that night. And to him, it was one little this in a big of this when he's thinking about my skill set and what I've done, right? For me, it was defining everything I did. And I just laughed at him. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Oh my gosh.
Right. Like, and here I was thinking that it was like that all he thought about was, oh, Tracy's not talented. She messed up. It's the worst thing in the world. And he didn't even care.
It didn't even cross his mind. Didn't even cross his mind, whether you're male or female, no matter whatever your role is, CEO or you're a janitor. I mean, no matter what, you're never going to crush everything you do. I mean, we're all human.
No,
right? We're all human.
And I say that to my team all the time is like, I will, no matter what my title is, I am human and I'm never going to be perfect and I'm going to get things wrong. And I apologize to my team when I do something wrong. I don't hide it. I'm like, hey, I made the wrong decision, I think here.
Right.
Like this didn't feel, we did it, but it didn't work out. And I'd rather you try something than not try at all.
Right. Or even ask them. I find myself doing this a lot as well. I'll ask them for their opinion. I'll kind of bring them in and buy them into the outcome. Like, what do you guys think? Right. And I think, when you're surrounding yourself around really smart people, I want to hear them. I want to pick their brains.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's so important, so important. So my next question for you is, what does executive presence, which again, it's so crazy how we're just kind of segueing right into this, mean to you today, and as we're covering it a little bit now, and how did both challenges and successes shape that perspective for you?
In different companies, executive presence, it can be different, but there's a fundamental kind of baseline, I always say, because working in at Humana, where we have a lot of doctors and lawyers and finance and actuaries, it's different than when I was working in telco, where we had more engineering, right? It's just so there's always a little bit different, and you need to learn what is appropriate in one company to the next. But I would say the baseline of executive presence is critically important, and it's how you treat others and how you show up. Because as you go up, I learned, and many times, that my stress level, if it's known, which I could get red in the neck, or I can be anxious or not focused in meetings, like people get off the phone and they'll say, Tracy's not in a good mood today. So when I started to hear someone say, oh, today's not the day to bring something to me, I was like, well, that's not good, right? Like, that is not good. And so as leaders, I talk about casting the shadow of what you want others to do, and how the stress multiplies when you're stressed. Your level of stress is going to go out throughout ranks, especially if you have large teams.
Yeah.
It cascades so fast. And so
I'm walking on eggshells.
I've had to learn over time that what I do is going to be emulated throughout. So that executive presence really is about how you want your team to show up, because the way you show up is how they're going to show up.
That's right.
It needs to be, if not practiced and not thought about, it can really impact organizations' effectiveness and efficiency overall. So, that's why coming across calm, cool, but also for me, I have a big caring heart about people. I always thought that, I said nurse earlier. I honestly, the standard joke in our family was, if Tracy ever retires from work, she's going to go be a nurse in a hospital and take care of all the patients on the floor. And she'll be reading books and passing out, candies and doing whatever she can to, 24/7.
That's funny. I wanted to be a nurse too. So I totally did not finish that path, but
because it's just, so I have found that I can mix that soft side, that caring side, with leadership overall. And that's part of my executive presence. It's how I want to show up. So it's really important people think about how would they want to be treated if they worked for you? And then how do you want to show up? And then there's also the upside of it, is how do you want to be perceived by others in the organization? And it may be, different leadership teams have different ways they want you to present or to communicate with them. And it's important to ask and find out what those are, so that you can be effective at all levels.
And I think it's important too, in your role, or in anybody in a leadership executive role, is like, you're being watched. You don't, people that are looking up to you, and maybe you don't realize that they're looking up to you, but they are watching your every move, because they respect you. So yes. So you want to try to think about that, is like, if you are in a stressful moment, you kind of take a deep breath and all right, we're going to get through this, and kind of, keep them calm while you're staying calm. And yeah, definitely it's perceived for sure by those watching.
It is. And it even goes, it's not only watching, but it also goes to how you write emails. Like I mean,
thank you. That's Oh,
Stacy, people read so
yes.
much into emails, right? Like, just sometimes I'm short, and it doesn't mean that I don't care. It just means that I'm busy and I'm
You're
just trying to
busy.
answer, right?
You want to get to the next 20 emails that are like right in front of your face and you want to get through them. You just want to get the job done, right? Yeah.
Yes.
But I found this to be really interesting. And again, this is not I don't want to bash on men or anything, but if I sent a short email, right, I know that people will perceive that as like, oh gosh, like you can tell she's upset about something. Not mean or not disrespect. I would never, do that, but just something like quick answering a question or just getting information out there, just a two-liner. Men do it all day, all the time, and it's okay, right? But it's like I have
Yes.
noticed
Yeah.
that. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, yeah, and even full of typos. A
Yes.
lot of times,
I
men will
always,
just be full of typos. you know.
so true.
So another question I have for you, and again, you kind of already answered this, but when you are making like a high stakes decision, without a clear answers, right? What do you rely on, and how have the past wins or failures like really influenced that?
Yeah, and that it brings me to something that I I've had a couple times in my career that have been defining, not because I really wanted them to be defining, but really handling some crisis management. And number one, on 9/11, I flew into New Jersey that morning and landed at 8:46 in Newark Airport, and I was supposed to be there to play golf with as a as an award with the CEO on this thing. So I was in literally golf attire and was supposed
Wait,
to
so
be
this
in and
was the
out in
same
one day.
morning, the same day as 9/11?
9/11,
Oh
9/11,
my gosh.
8:46 in the morning into Newark. And when I got off the plane, it was like what you saw, Stacy, um, in a scary movie where the airport is shutting down. You can see smoke over New York. There was like people running, panicking. I had no idea what was going on. My cell phone wasn't working. I ended up
Oh
getting
my
into my car service and going, and I ended up staying in New York for multiple days working on getting Wall Street to get telecommunications up and running and to get phones to all of the emergency workers, because the cell towers for all the carriers were down. And at that point, I had to make some real critical decisions without a lot of information, which was
yeah.
I knew we needed to figure out how to help out at 9/11 down at Ground Zero. I knew that back in those days, cell phones were like, we didn't have 20,000 cell phones in one place. I had to figure out how to get
Right.
them from multiple stores across different states, and I needed to figure out how to program them, get them batteries with extra batteries, etc. You can see. So at that time, communications was critical, and I went with as little information as I had, and I needed to also figure out how to get a group together to get this done. Had no, it was absolutely crazy, and everybody was in turmoil. But it came down to get as much information as you can. But in those crisis moments, you don't have time for all the information. You got to make
No.
some gut decisions, and you got to go based on what what you've done in the past, and how you can apply it to where you go. And then the biggest thing in these crises is, because I did a similar thing through 9/11, I've also taken companies through large mergers, and it comes down to communications. Leaders at times have a habit, when they don't know all the information, to hold back communicating to the people you need to activate or that are going through it. And I have found that I just setting up an open bridge and like talking for 10 minutes and giving the rest of the time to the teams to ask me questions. And I know I'm not going to know a majority of them, but if I can understand what their questions are, it's going to make me better to be able to
Yeah.
lead them to go find out those answers. and it's going to give them some calmness that I'm there with them and not just off trying to do it. And so many times people mistake that they have to wait till they get all the information and to be confident with the information to have communications when you're going through anything. And I have found that if I can engage and just open and be there with them and to have the team feel like they're being part of the solution,
right,
that works out the best.
Yeah, and then you're just feeling like you're just approachable, and yeah. Huh. Wow, that is so ironic though that you flew in the same day. But that's
same day. Could not get
wow.
out for multiple days because everything was shut down and everything. But it was, highly rewarding to be able to know that what you were doing was trying to help. In some respects. Nobody really even knew what they needed, but I did know one thing, that people needed to try to communicate. And anything I could do to help with that was important.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy. Wow, I got goosebumps when you said that. So with that, what would you share with other women? For the women who just, they don't feel like they belong, or they're just not quite ready yet, but they know in their heart they really want to grow, professionally or as a person, personally. But what challenges, should she expect? And what wins are waiting for her if she were to take that leap and just go for it?
Yeah. First of all, she should just go for it.
I love that.
That is it, because you know what? You only get a few shots, and you should take every opportunity that you can. At the same token, I would tell women today that building a network, not just of people at work, but getting to know others outside your industry. Things like LinkedIn are a great way of connecting with people. And be deliberate on trying to meet, I always use this, try to meet, 10 people who, each year, that you just reach out and say, hey, I just want to have a cup of coffee, or can we just talk, and not get so caught up in work that you're not making time for yourself to meet people, because a lot of the great opportunities come from those people who are in your network, or they could be job opportunities, but they can also be sounding boards, and as you're going through things, because I see too many people who don't do that, and then they get in a situation and they have no one to turn to. So meeting people, and especially after COVID and this, you're not in the office every day. Like, reach out, and even if it's a virtual coffee, that's okay. Just meet somebody and spend a little time getting to know what makes them so special, and what they want to do, and have that camaraderie, because it is critically important for you, for your personal well-being, but also it will help you be able to be more confident to take those risks and to reach out.
Absolutely. And when we started the podcast, we were talking about women, not as supportive as we would like them to be, and did you really face those challenges? And then we're at Humana, you're seeing a whole nother side of more support with women, and just more empowerment, and all of that. And that really, it's so, again, ironic, because everything that you are sharing, and we did not even rehearse this, it like segues right into my next question, or the information I want to share. But what you're saying now is so in line with, we are holding an event on a Thursday afternoon on the 16th, April 16th, in Miami at Nobu. You should come if you can make it. Oh my goodness, it's gonna be amazing. But it's a celebration of women, and it's women that are going to support other women in terms of just exactly what we are sharing. Like, let's get behind one another. Let's support one another. Let's talk about our wins. Let's be able to talk about our wins and be proud of it, rather than being judged for it, right? And taking that next step, professionally, you want something, go after it. And we have an amazing keynote speaker that's going to be there. It's just going to be great. So it's noon to 3 on Thursday, April 16th in Miami at Nobu. And it just really is in line with what you were just sharing now is like you said, have coffee with, another woman and just hear her out or let her hear you out. I think it's important to not feel alone. I think it just builds you up a little bit to chase your dreams.
It does, and it's so important to do that. I mean, I'm so fortunate at Humana. We have quite a few senior leaders that are women, and we're all just there supporting each other, and it makes it fun, but it's also like, hey, it's great to have that camaraderie. Prior to that, it could be very lonely, and nobody's in this alone. We should be helping each other out.
That's right. And it's going to be an amazing day one time when, you get into a boardroom and, all these executives are in there and you see a good half and half. You have half women and half men. That's, that'll be an amazing day when that happens. Right. So last question I have for you, and then we're going to jump into a really quick, our She Decides 5, which is fun. The last question I have for you is what goals are you still wanting to reach personally for yourself? Is there anything that you're wanting to really accomplish?
Staci,
whether it's in the
great
future?
question.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. So, if I may, I was able to find my core values and align them with what I want, what I want to be known for long term, which is I really love helping other women, with their career in helping them mentor and grow. And so I have my own web page that I've got out there. I've got a couple of keynotes that I've been working on. I'm really looking to connect and long term, I just want, I would want that people would remember Tracy as somebody who did something that helped them in their career or in their life to actually step out and do something that they didn't think that they were capable of doing. And so for me, my satisfaction and what I thrive to do long term is to continue on this path of giving back, because I've been so fortunate to have some great mentors, mostly men. So I'd like to be a mostly woman for some women, career that I help them achieve X, right? So I have quite a few to this date, but like that is my goal. So however that manifests long term, that's what I want to be known for and what I want to do.
I love that. And you said that you have a website. Is it up and running?
It is.
What
is
it?
It is. It's just TracyNolan.com. TracyNolan.com.
We'll make sure that we put that in our keynotes too. Oh wow. Well, that is awesome. I feel like you and I are like, we're so aligned. Like, I love it. You're great. I love when women are cheering on other women, and just being in those meetings in those places or those rooms or whatever. Many times, like you, I've been the only woman, and it just was, I don't know. It's just kind of, I don't know if I was looked down upon or just not taken serious. But I love your quote about just walk in there and take up space. I love it.
Take your space.
Take your space, girlfriend. I love it. Okay.
And if you ever doubt it, just go up and see if you're in the 2. If you're in the 2, you got the space.
There you go.
You're right there.
Yeah, you're right there. Walk in there, take some space, and that's right. Hold your ground. I love it.
Exactly.
Okay, so I like to wrap it up with our She Decides 5. So they're just 5 quick questions that are just fun. So are we ready for this one?
Yes.
All right. These are easy peasy. First one, online shopping or in-store experience?
Online.
Same here. Do you like gold jewelry or silver jewelry?
Silver now. I was gold for a long time, but now I'm more silver.
Isn't that funny how it sways, goes back and forth?
Yeah. Although I kind of feel like I might be going back to gold. So I don't know, right? Like I kind of feel I was gold and I went silver. Although now my most recent purchase was a gold necklace, so I don't know.
So yeah. And then you're seeing also a lot of mix and matching too. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Heels or gym shoes?
Heels.
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 All right. Two more. Are you early mornings or late night creativity? Like when do you do your thinking?
Mm. I've become early morning, but I'm really like if I'm really going to be creative, I'm staying up late, Staci.
You're staying up late. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Last but not least, do you like to read a book or listen to a podcast?
Oh, I'm a podcast person, definitely.
All right. It's so funny. Our answers were the same. I would have answered the same as you. Absolutely. Well, this has been so much fun. And thank you so much, Tracy, for spending your afternoon with us. I know you're a busy woman, so I really, really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you, Staci. It was fun. It was great to get to know you and share some views. It was fun.
Yeah, thank you. And you are going to be such a breath of fresh air to so many women out there. Your message is just so empowering and just so powerful. So thank you so much.